Penny and Scott move into a secluded house in the woods, planning to film a documentary about nature. As the days go by, the couple realizes that the venture is not what they thought it to be. Arguments and disappointment become a common theme, and one night, Penny complains about Scott's behavior. Scott says that he has stopped taking his pills, and Penny is frustrated. As the couple sleep, a weird noise wakes up Penny, who in turn wakes up Scott. They both go to the living room, where they hear this peculiar and persistent banging sound. Suddenly, a black mass breaks one of the windows. Penny is scared and turns on the light. A dead bird is lying on the floor. Penny is frightened, but Scott tells her that it is only birds gone crazy for some unknown reason. The next day, as Scott is filming himself talking to the camera, an unknown hooded figure sneaks up on him and takes his backpack. Scott runs after the stranger, yelling at him, until he discovers another house in close proximity to the one that he and Penny are staying. Returning to Penny, the two of them go to the unknown house and enter. Scott films the interior and tries to get Penny to follow him. Scott finds an eerie passage in the basement, but Penny is reluctant to go with him. Yet, when Scott tells her that inside the backpack are the car keys, something which makes the return to civilization an impossibility, she eventually decides to come along. Penny takes the camera and is excited to find creepy totems made out of bones. Scott gets his backpack and tells her that they can leave, but Penny wants to see more. As she goes to open a closed hatch, the owner of the house returns. Scott and Penny attempt to leave, but it is too late. Not wanting to be caught snooping around, they remain hidden. They observe this person, and Penny makes a distraction by throwing a can. This allows the couple to safely escape the house and return to their own. Penny is now thrilled that they have found the legendary and mysterious artist, Mr. Jones. She advises Scott to go to New York City and interview people about Mr. Jones, while she remains there to take photographs. In the city, Scott learns that Mr. Jones is a dark fable, an odd artist that has sent quite a few eerie totems to random individuals around the world. In addition, his influence has started a kind of cult, with many people abandoning their everyday lives to go and live in the woods. In the meantime, Penny is taking pictures of Mr. Jones' latest totem. She and Scott exchange messages in which Scott expresses his concerns and says to Penny to be careful. One day, as Penny is taking photographs of a new piece of Mr. Jones' work, she is surprised by the artist himself. Penny tries to talk to him, but Mr. Jones is extraordinarily silent. Penny remains at a safe distance, filming him, and, as night falls, she notices that there is something wicked about the newly constructed totems. At some point, Penny gets too scared and runs away, but she sees Mr. Jones holding a lantern, guiding her. Penny follows him and ends up back to her house. She records her recent experience and says that she doesn't feel scared anymore. Later on, Scott returns and views with Penny the comments of the people in the interviews. Most of the interviewees are unsure if the totems cause a breach between the real world and the dream world, or if they evoke ghostly nightmares and hallucinations. One of them even says that it is not safe to seek Mr. Jones, and warns Scott and Penny to keep away from him. Scott and Penny, however, plan to revisit Mr. Jones's house and enter the basement one more time in order to get a proper ending for their documentary. Going back to the place where Mr. Jones placed the new totems, they see that the pieces are all gone. Penny says that she feels that Mr. Jones is making scarecrows to drive away some kind of evil. Waiting for Mr. Jones to leave his house, Scott enters alone while Penny is waiting outside to check up on Mr. Jones's return. Scott goes to the basement and finds the closed hatch. He opens it and sees a ladder, which he descends to a dark passage. Talking to Penny with his walkie-talkie, Scott thinks he is in a maze until he sees a light ahead of him. Penny can't hear Scott anymore as the walkie's signal is now lost. She is distracted by something unseen behind her, and Scott discovers a sacred chamber filled with more scarecrows and lit candles. Meanwhile, Mr. Jones returns and Penny tries to warn Scott, who is amazed by the totems in the chamber. Scott is particularly drawn to a smaller totem that resembles an infant with lit candles for eyes. He takes it and leaves the chamber, while Mr. Jones enters the house and shortly exits, going towards Penny, who tries in vain to warn Scott. Penny sees Mr. Jones coming for her and flees. She is soon found by him and knocked out. Scott tries to reach Penny as he is working a way out of the maze. He ends up again at the sacred chamber and attempts once more to retrace his steps. At some point, he thinks he hears a voice calling the name Penny, and then a tremor shakes the earth around him. Battling between his fear and sense of unreality, Scott manages in the end to find the ladder and leave the grim passage. Exiting Mr. Jones's house, Scott searches for Penny. He returns to their house, which has now been swarmed by these scary scarecrows. Thankfully, Scott finds Penny in the bedroom and takes her out. The couple plans now to escape, but Penny can't start the engine and Scott is unable to open the door. Penny gets out of the car and a spine-chilling howl is heard from the woods. Scott and Penny retreat back to the house where they argue about Mr. Jones's intentions. Scott implies that he is evil, while Penny suggests otherwise, stating that Mr. Jones saved her. As the night goes on, a sinister growl is heard from the roof. The couple lies down in bed and ultimately makes love. Scott says to Penny that at first light they will run away from this horrifying place. But as the hour strikes 8 AM, the night darkness hasn't receded at all. The hours pass, but there is still no sign of the sun. Suddenly, noises are heard outside. Penny notices Mr. Jones, and Scott shouts at him to get away. Terrifying thunder lights up the gloomy sky. Scott and Penny go inside the house again. Penny stares at Mr. Jones, who rushes to the door. There's a persistent banging at the door. Penny says to Scott to open the door. Scott does so, and Mr. Jones grabs him out. Penny follows them and sees Scott holding a weird-looking mask. Something, presumably Mr. Jones, is hurled at the window and bleeds out. Chaos ensues, and everything goes black. In their moments of respite, Scott says that he doesn't know how long the night has lasted. He mentions that terrifying things are watching them from the woods, things that mess up the mind. The computer screen opens. Scott pulls the plug, but the screen is still on. It soon starts to show all the footage the couple has made thus far. In one of the sequences, a person looking exactly like Scott is filming the couple sleeping. The theft of the baby totem is profoundly revealed, and the doppelganger says that he is feeling trapped in a blue room. At some point, the screen shows the blue room and the couple inside trying to locate the camera. Scott and Penny bicker about this whole situation when suddenly something starts banging violently at the door. Scott holds the door and hears a heavy breathing outside. He opens the door to check and sees a dead reindeer at the threshold. The doppelganger is there too, however, and runs towards them. Scott and Penny hold the door and manage to close it, but not before the entity snarls and takes a snapshot of the two. An undetermined blue light flickers inside the house. Scott tells Penny to go to the room and bring the doll. Scott is startled and pleads Penny to take him inside the bedroom. Scott gets in, and then something bangs the door. Scott feels like he is stuck in a nightmare. Penny tells him that they should leave and go to the woods. Scott sees a duplicate of Penny and hears the real Penny telling him to wear the mask. Scott is rendered unconscious, and as he wakes up, he finds himself surrounded by many hooded figures who glare at him. Crawling away from them, Scott manages to enter Mr. Jones's house and locks him inside. As the figures bang the door and the windows, Scott descends to the passage once more. He finds himself talking to the walkie the night he stole the doll and leaves the sacred chamber. Soon the figures flash lights on him. Scott sees Penny surrounded by many of her doppelgangers, wearing white gowns. Penny motions Scott that he should not come to her. He enters the sacred chamber, where he puts the doll back and lights its candles before wearing the mask. Scott then grabs a lantern and exits the passage with Penny. Outside, the sky flashes until it is daytime. Scott is seen taking off his mask. He kisses Penny and puts the mask back on before leaving her side, holding the lantern. In the course of these amazing events, it is revealed that Scott has assumed Mr. Jones's role to protect the world of the living from the merciless world of dreams.